Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this week we talk Asian carrier program valuations. People make bad jokes on Twitter, and American Airlines tries selling a very bad deal. Among my friends in low places, I'm known as Ron, and this is the Points Reckoning Picture Show. Last week, I ran over the three wise men of the points and miles universe: Chase Ultimate Rewards, Amex Membership Rewards, and Citi Thank You Points. This week, we're heading east and taking a look at the big players in Asia, at least the ones that are most accessible to U.S. award travel aficionados. It's tasty. While China Southern is the biggest airline in Asia, its mileage program is a bit off limits to U.S. award travelers due to it not being a transfer partner at Citi, Amex, or Chase. Furthermore, I'm excluding Garuda Indonesia. Despite being a thank you point transfer partner and a Skytrax 5-star airline, I consider Garuda miles so useless and cumbersome that I don't track them anymore. So Cathay Pacific, Singapore, ANA, and Korean Air worth 1.13, 0.87, 0.6, and 1.09 cents per point respectively. Starting with Cathay. Asia Miles valuation can be summed up pretty concisely with one sentence: fantastic on their metal and terrible on anyone else's. Our best redemption for the month was 7.8 cents per mile. That was for a business class seat on Cathay Metal from Hong Kong to Auckland. Next up, an exceptional airline that loves to torment OCD people with its krisflyer program and its associated waitlists. Most recently, we assigned an ACR value of just 0.87 cents per krisflyer mile. While intra-Asia award seat availability was decent, flights that crossed an ocean left much to be desired. It's worth mentioning that we don't consider waitlist availability as an actual bookable award seat for valuation purposes. Our best redemption came from 6.58 cents. That was for a first-class award seat from Sydney to Los Angeles. One of the great things about the program is that they're a transfer partner of all three big transferable currencies, so it could be a nice way to pool smaller balances in multiple accounts. Moving on to Japan and All Nippon Airways and their mileage club. For what it's worth, their website is among the most useful for finding Star Alliance award availability. That considered, it's otherwise very frustrating to use. Also, don't lose your account number. It's literally impossible to retrieve. Value for the month came in at just 0.6 cents per mile. This low value isn't necessarily indicative of the value that can be gleaned from the carrier. Rather, it's a reflection of the poor award availability. Our best redemption for the month came in at 6.23 cents. That was for a first-class award seat on ANA Metal from Narita to Los Angeles. And finally, from the part of the peninsula not ruled by a dictator, Korean Air. In Points Reckoning's opinion, one of the best options available to US-based travelers looking to get to Asia. While availability could be better, their service is outstanding. Their A380s have onboard lounges, and one can transfer ultimate rewards their way. So the the ACR value was 1.09 cents. Like many others, it would have been higher if availability were better. Here's the kicker. For those willing to be flexible, our international non-zero average was a whopping 4.18 cents per mile. That is the average when we exclude findings of no availability. Now on to a little bit of industry buzz. This week, Uber released footage of that fatal accident involving one of their self-driving cars. Of course, this was immediately pounced upon by lovers of government regulation as proof positive we need more rules. I assume most of these people are connected to the cab industry and or resent the fact that some people are out making a living without sharing in their misery by reporting to a boss. Conveniently, most of the Uber haters sidestep the fact that human drivers kill just under 100 people a day in the United States. If all they really cared about was safety, then they would probably take themselves off the road. As per usual, they've taken to Twitter to express their faux outrage. For those who haven't seen the video, here it is. Now, I'm only willing to judge a self-driving car's ability to avoid an accident in the context of how a human driver would handle the same situation. From the video released by the Tempe Police Department, I'm pretty confident that a human driver would have done no better. That said, I'm confused about one thing. I've always thought self-driving cars use some sort of radar or infrared magic to separate living things from everything else. With that in mind, I would have assumed that the car would have had seen the pedestrian even in the shadows. Here's what I assume the scene would look like to a self-driving vehicle. Now, I feel like there's a whole group of people out there that assume progress is going to come without any missteps. This group seems to ignore the fact that every single advancement in human history has come about despite unforeseen costs and challenges. However, I like to think that this group is drowned out by the more pragmatic among us. This latter group would certainly look at this as a tragedy, but also as a learning opportunity. They wouldn't use the death of a pedestrian to further their own agenda. United, the airline that cannot stay out of the news. For better or for worse. At this point, we're just looking at ratios. Luckily, we've got a feel-good one for you this week. Well, feel-good that is, if you're anything like me and enjoy most stories that involve the little guy sticking it to the man. Apparently, United's policy in the event of an involuntary bump is to place the burden on the passenger holding the lowest price ticket. In the case of a United flight from DC to Austin, that happened to be a traveler named Allison Price. Sorry if I butchered it. However, plot twist, Allison wasn't having any of it. Through the clever use of the tweeters, she live-cast her ordeal to the interwebs. While it's not clear her real-time updates had anything to do with the ultimate decision, United eventually relented and offered her $10,000 in travel credits. That's enough pseudo-cash to book a couple seats in business between the US and Asia or Europe. So, go Allison. Moving on, last year, in an extreme display of petulance and attempted crony capitalism, Boeing sought to use the U.S. Commerce Department to push the Bombardier C-Series out of the U.S. market. Boeing claimed they were financially damaged by the fact the Canadian aerospace company was offering their new state-of-the-art jet below market prices, allegedly due to subsidies from the Canadian government. We are, of course, assuming that Boeing forgot about the billions it receives in state and local tax breaks along with massive no-bid U.S. government contracts when they started crying to regulators. However, back in January, the U.S. International Trade Commission ruled unanimously that Boeing was not injured by the sale of the C-Series jet to Delta, thus reversing the Commerce Department's proposed tariffs. That brings us to this week, when Boeing announced that they will not be appealing the January ITC ruling. Apparently, the blowback from Delta and the governments of Canada and the UK were too much. While I hope that Boeing has learned its lesson, and will think twice next time it attempts to use U.S. regulators to snuff out competition, I'm certainly not holding my breath. Really good beer. On to our new segment. It's called Don't Get Ripped Off. This is, of course, a working title. The goal here is to run over what I consider the lowest value offering or opportunity currently being sold as a great deal. This week, we're going to take a look at the sale that American is currently having right now on its AA Advantage miles. Right now, one is giving a bonus if one purchases miles directly from the carrier. First off, purchasing miles is generally a stupid decision. However, there are a few situations where it makes sense to do so. First, if you have a specific redemption in mind and can purchase the miles for less money than you'd otherwise have to spend if booking a flight with cash. Second, if you are planning to book an award ticket and your mileage balance is just a little light, in other words, to top off your account. This is somewhat related to situation 1. The final time it's not a terrible decision to purchase miles is the rare case where you're coming up against your sign-up bonus minimum spend requirement and have no other way to reach it without some non-organic purchase, aka buying miles. What you absolutely don't want to do is purchase miles speculatively. American has a well-earned reputation for periodically devaluing their program. Basically, you'd be paying too much for something likely to lose value over time. Now, before we get into just how badly you're getting taken advantage of, let's take a quick glance at our latest AA Advantage valuation. Back on March 4th of this year, we computed an ACR value of 1.35 cents per mile. Our international average, excluding zeros, aka no availability, was 2.86 cents, and our domestic one being worth an extremely pathetic 0.83 cents each. For a full breakdown, the link to the just mentioned reckoning is below. That out of the way, let's take a look at what you're getting for your investment. And of course, I'm using the term investment extremely loosely here. To start, American charges 2.95 cents per point. That's just ridiculous. However, the current sale softens the blow a little bit. Here's the breakdown. On the low end, and only purchasing 6,000 miles, the bonus adjusted price per mile drops to 2.36 cents per point. However, on the high end, purchasing 150,000 AA miles, the bonus adjusted price drops to 1.67 cents per mile. At this end of the scale, prices are starting to look a little less insulting. Now, just for fun, I decided to take a little walk down Hypothetical Street and see what can be done right now with 265,000 miles purchased for $4,425. A round-trip business class flight from Los Angeles to Rome. This would be bookable for 245,000 miles. The cash price for the same itinerary is $9,012, providing a redemption value of 3.67 cents per point. Considering you paid 1.67 cents for them, this would seem worth it. 2. Fly a business class return itinerary from Miami to Rio. For 260,000 points, the lower cost cash alternative available on LATAM, or LATAM, I always butcher that, is available for $1,725. And this would indicate a redemption value of 0.6 cents per mile. You're really getting quite the shit deal here. The point to these aforementioned scenarios is to highlight the importance of ensuring that one has a high value redemption lined up before purchasing. Of course, it should go without saying that if you do go ahead and purchase, make sure you do so on a card that gives you bonus points on travel. The best options would be the usual suspects, both Chase Sapphires, the Citi Thank You Prestige, or the Amex Premier Rewards Gold. Now, that's going to close her out for the week. If you found any of this useful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. If you didn't like what I had to say, go ahead and give us a big thumbs down. Alright, thanks for watching, and don't book that middle seat.